Yeah, we'll just have to skip that.
Yeah, that'll go on next meetings.
Can't do the approval
Yeah.
of minutes 'cause-
So, but Steve can still give us an update on what they've been doing.
That'd be great, thanks. And please introduce your guest,
That's my daughter.
the future board member.
She had competitive dance and gymnastics tryouts tonight.
How'd that go?
She says good, so we'll find out. She's 10. She's been doing it since she was 3. So
Oh,
I don't imagine it'd be yeah. I got a shirt that says I'm not only a dad, I'm the financer.
I think I might have one of those somewhere.
Updates in the park. Haven't had any signs of any vandalism lately, which is a good sign. Cameras should be received this week. There were some holes in the bathroom walls up at the big pavilion bathroom. Those have now been patched and sealed and covered up, so no more peeking, Lauren. So lots of mowing, weed eating. Valley Spring Trail, we decided we were going to kind of minimize the maintenance that we do to it, and we're still going to minimize it to some extent, but after the growth in grass and weeds that we've had the past couple weeks, we found that it's going to need some maintenance. It's just not an option to let it go. So
I'm glad you're saying that, because like the trail doesn't need maintenance, but everything else around it.
yes, yeah.
is
So
pretty bad. And I saw something, where you guys mowed low, down in the bottom part, it was a foul smell.
After we mowed,
Did you find anything?
well, I asked Crew, I was like, how many rabbits did you murder when you mowed down there? He's like, she was like, I just kept my head up.
No.
Because there was probably quite a bit
Yeah,
of
he said,
wildlife.
he
down
said
there.
something was rank down there, but I was just hoping there wasn't anything seriously found.
Well, and I think there's a lot of still water down there, especially in that creek bed right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty soggy down there for a while, so I'm really surprised they were able to mow it without getting stuck.
yeah, that was pretty much the one shot that we had to get in there and mow it before we had the next shot of rain. So
We sure did a lot of clearing on that back side, you know.
Oh, where they were building?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole
Yeah.
different view now down there.
speaking of back there, the back portion of the walking trail, it's washed out. There's roots. It's pretty much unsafe. The bridge is unsafe. The trees. So we're kind of just taking the approach of abandoning that back trail like we've talked about, and taking the bridges out, which would coincide with the lower field that we're speaking of that was mowed. And it's on the agenda to discuss. I don't know when you guys want to.
Depends about their old business.
So
Depending on the business.
we can talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, lots of cleaning. Jeff and Bart have done a great job on the Main Street bathroom, Pierre Marquette Park, and such. Lots of field trips in the past couple weeks, walking field trips. I did receive comments back from the school and a couple different teachers. They were very impressed at the way the facilities were being kept. So,
And just a comment on that, Steve, I've received several comments from people that I see in the park or that just want park updates that the maintenance is quality. So Jeff, you and Bart are doing an excellent job up there in Pierre Marquette, keeping up, and I know sometimes it can go without being said, so just wanted to relay those comments. So
Main Street's looking really good.
yeah, it looks great.
I did a lot of trimming on the trees and stuff, cleaned everything up.
I was going to go get down there and trim up the bottoms of those trees. I'm like, no, I won't have to. Somebody else already got to.
Yeah, I did that already.
we did manage to do quite a bit of tree trimming up in the park. Me and Jeff, we went up there and trimmed all the limbs off the big pavilion, cleaned off some debris that had been thrown up there over the years. We found car parts and bottles and lots of
Kinds of interesting things up there,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but it was like upper and lower control arms off a truck. Like it was,
Yeah.
car parts. So, anybody got any questions, concerns, anything?
I have one, and it has to do with the streets. Can we get the storm drains cleaned off? At Gabourey and Third, that one is always so full of leaves. And then at Third and Market, I've gone by there with my foot and moved some of the debris so that the water will drain into the drain there, right at, it's the southwest corner of Market and Third, right by that art studio.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets,
Sycamore.
and there's always water running there, and I don't know where that water is coming from. I mean, it could be 2 or 3 days of dry if we ever get, and there's water always running there.
Yeah.
Air conditioners,
Yeah, I was gonna say-
No, it's not air conditioners.
condensates.
I know the old brick has a sump pump that discharges to the street
Yeah.
as well.
No, this is
You'll break-
across
and I
the street.
think-
This is coming from up by the old Herald building in that area.
Right.
Somewhere in there, and it's,
I think there's just something.
There's sump pumps there, yeah.
but it's always there, and the water's, always, that drain is never cleaned off.
Well,
And like I said, I've gone by there on Sunday morning and swooshed some stuff so the water will drain in there. And then again at Gabourey and Third, never cleaned off. And with all this rain, everything flows right to it.
yeah, and with all this rain, I mean, the storms we've been having,
Oh, yeah.
it takes debris off the trees and puts it there. I mean,
I know,
we
but it
can't-
needs to, somebody needs to come by after the storm
We had crews out during the storm. I mean,
and clean them
so-
because it's, it's a mess.
yeah.
Please go to that area.
Please.
Doesn't the storekeeper, shopkeepers keep?
Well, it's in the street. I mean, it's.
I know, but, I mean, we keep, they could help too, I guess they're not there all the time, but I'm always out sweeping too.
We can look at that from a city aspect at a city meeting.
Yeah.
We have a regular maintenance that we do, especially when storms are coming. We make sure to get out and look at all the storm
Yeah.
drains, but you've got hundreds of them.
Yeah, it's just when the storms come, you get those winds.
Yeah.
And I've seen the guys out there.
We can focus on that.
I have seen them out there during the rain.
So,
But
Or you could turn it around and put your boots on and just play in the rain and go
you
back
don't
to
like the
your
waterfall
job.
going down the side of your house?
We've done that before.
Yeah.
We have.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Steve?
all right, thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, since I'm not doing anything, what else? What's next? Okay.
Barb, did you guys meet that night?
We met, we just discussed it. We just discussed what the plan was and everything. It was just myself
Kind
and
of a
Shelley.
recap. Trail.
Nothing to report.
Playground committee?
Oh, well, real quick on trails. Steve, do we have an update on signage for Valley Spring?
I believe they're done. They're just up at the shop.
Okay.
For the,
To let the public know that a new trail will be coming within the,
That's
hopefully the
not in the
year.
master plan.
oh, for Valley Springs. Yeah, I was curious when that was going to start, or,
The work on it won't start till later in the year when projects start to calm down, because right now the crews are busy with mowing and upkeep
and that's all going to be
And so-
internal work? I mean, our guys are going to be doing all that?
There's still details to sort out. I think there's a few different opportunities for us, but a lot of that's going to come later in the year when we can start looking at what time we have available and things like that.
And who is we?
Well, not me personally, but Steve, I'm willing to help with whatever I can. But between Steve's crews, but also if we go out to what businesses can do, things like that, whoever we go to for the crushed stone, down, things like that, what their availability is, deliveries.
Now,
things
do
like
we
that.
need to get people in there to survey it and all that stuff, or are we just doing all of that to get the drainage sorted out and all that stuff? Because it definitely has drainage issues.
Yeah, Steve Happy and I had met, I think I said this last meeting, we had met prior to the last meeting to kind of talk about some specific areas where we'll have to address storm drain issues, elevation changes, if widening in certain areas will be an issue, because it's basically going to be about 6 feet wide probably to match the width of the equipment. But all of that will come with later planning when they can start to really dig into it.
They mean,
City forces.
Yeah.
okay, thanks, that's all, I'm just curious.
Well,
Is it an outside group, or, do we, who was doing the work?
Whatever we
Alliance
decide
will
today.
probably do most of the work unless we see fit that we as a board, you as a board, need to hire out to some degree, so.
And that will come after,
Those discussions will come up as needed throughout the year, because you all were on board with pursuing the project, I believe, at previous meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, all details will come about as needed and keep you updated. So probably won't be much of an update till later in the year.
okay, anything else on that trail that? Okay. Now, the playground committee. Did Kendra get back with anybody yet?
Yeah.
Yes, she sent
Oh.
the renderings and a proposal, and
When did
I,
those come in?
It came in, I forwarded to you your email.
like 2
I forgot to
weeks.
text you to let you know that you got an email.
Congratulations.
Because, partly because I knew I didn't have time to mess with it, but I sent it to the email that you have on file with our park emails.
You know, for some reason, okay, when did you send it, just so I can,
That would have been about May 10th.
okay, I'm not gonna hang up, hold up, but go ahead.
yeah, I can pull it up. I didn't even think about printing it, I had too many other things on my mind.
I got it printed.
Did you?
Yeah. Just find it.
And then the quote she gave us came out to 57,000.
And that's with, it's a type of mulch
Yeah.
Oh, for the,
for the
Yeah,
fall surface.
So,
We could probably expect to add $60,000 if we were wanting to do the pour in place. Probably a median option would be doing rubber tiles. It saves a little off of the, compared to the pour in place rubberized
And
surfacing.
she said with the tiles that if one gets damaged, those are the ones you can go in and then just replace that section versus having to
Yeah.
worry about redoing everything. And it tends to be a little cushier.
Yeah.
can people like go up and grab one and just walk off with that?
No,
There's an adhesive that you
Oh,
use
okay,
to,
okay.
to put them in place, and then some of them even have bolt-in options, but we would probably do a crushed stone base under it, if I'm guessing. But I think the tiles are probably the best way to go, because what we see in our parks right now with the fall surface that we have is the mulch, and it's just so much to keep up with the weedings, with the weeds, especially at the start of the year when winter kind of lets everything decay, including the previous mulch that was there. So it's just a lot of work to keep up with between all of our playgrounds. So I think if we go with that rubberized tiling, you just got a little bit of maintenance every year,
I mean, that's
just to kind of
worth
check
the
on
invest-
it.
I mean, it's.
And long term, and it also adds a level of accessibility to your playgrounds, because honestly, I would kind of have you guys consider, in future years, taking out the mulch from Valley Springs Park and going with that option to where you could actually just blow, because there's so many trees there, you get so many sticks in that mulch, things like that. If you had a tiled surface there, you could just,
Yeah, I would think too, by that time, the smaller playground will need redoing. I think that's,
yeah,
it's kind of showing its age. I was there yesterday and
yeah.
it's worn.
But the larger structure as a whole will probably be there, and there's just so much for the maintenance crews to try to pick up and dodge, and you can throw more mulch on top of it, but.
It would just be lovely to have endless amounts of money to do all of this.
Well, I know, but that's why we get
Who knows?
plans together, and you think ahead, like, okay, well, we can't do that this year, but maybe that's something that we work for in 2 years from now. Because you can focus all your attention on Pierre Marquette, and that's great. But while you do that, you're also, you're also gonna lose touch on some of your other playgrounds if you're not planning for those as well. Talking with Nick and Mary, who put our plan together before, they said ideally you kind of start working on your master plans for all the parks, what you envision for all the areas, and you say in 5 years I'm going to do this at this park, this at that park, and things like that. Maybe you go a little bit heavier at Pierre Marquette, but you still look to make improvements that would benefit the community throughout your other areas. So.
I haven't been to Pinkley Park lately under that playground. That's pea gravel, right?
Pea gravel.
Is there anything coming up through that, or is it still pretty
Yeah,
good?
there's weeds that come up, and then a lot of the rocks get kicked out of the playground, which makes weed eating dangerous.
I
Try
had
weed eating, it's just like rocks.
sent a text to somebody, I don't know about the graffiti that was on the inside. Someone had messaged me saying they were there with the kids, and someone had really done a number on the inside. I think I texted Gary.
At Pinkley?
Yes. After the last holiday. What was the last holiday?
Easter?
Easter. Yes. I wonder if that.
I'll go check it out.
Okay.
I don't get too much time to.
And I don't expect you to have a whole crew, but I relayed it to Gary, I believe. He said he would pass it on.
Was it marker or spray paint?
They didn't go into detail what it was, but it was some choice words and stuff. It just makes no sense to me at all. I don't understand that. At least they know how to spell, but
Maybe. I'll
Maybe.
check that out too.
yeah.
They need a dictionary.
So on to still about the playground. Is this the?
It's
what
not
she-
that's what the rendering she sent us based off of our last conversation with her. So everything can still be changed, tweaked, whatever.
We can consider going down to a smaller unit. I know Sam had mentioned maybe looking at something more from the 2 to 12 range, because that would be a 5 to 12 with that playground. And honestly, for the space in that's probably not a bad idea, sizing it down to a 2 to 12 with a smaller unit, and being able to do maybe two of those double bay swing sets, because with the swings, I think there's a lot of value if you can have a variety of swings, from you got your toddler swings and your basic seat or your basic belt swings on that rendering, but the generation swings are really popular, which the park has a few of those up there where you can set the toddler in one end and and another person sits on the other side of it. Those are really popular, and then also an inclusive bucket seat. So it's a lot to add on just a double bay swing set, but I think if we were to size down on the playground and maybe add a second double bay somewhere, that we can provide a variety of swings that would enhance the inclusivity of that area, because we just don't have the space or the budget to do a really cool inclusive thing like the community center has in that space by the pavilion. But
Do you even see the other space for the adventure playground to be enough room for that either? I mean, I still don't
Oh, yeah.
see how much.
yeah, there's a lot of hillside on that. And going up over the north end of the soccer fields, there's a lot to do there. Not everything has to be attached.
Right.
And even at the community center, not everything's attached. You can do these kind of clusters of different features and things like that and kind of spread it out the hillside. It's something that we can definitely talk with the park reps, Kendra or a couple of the other different companies about when we're ready to, and that's something we can start discussions on now because it's going to take a long time to really plan those details and get those figures and raise the money for those. So that's something we can start talking about now is what that looks like. But I think there's a lot more space up there than people realize.
Without losing those little
Yeah, those
shelters?
pavilions. Yeah, those shelters are on the other side of the pathway. So.
And the path would still go right through this adventure playground clustered thing.
I don't see it necessarily going through.
It will go right through
You've
the
got
edge of it, wouldn't
you've
it?
got a lot of space between where the existing pathway is now, because the trail is going to lord, and that area is going to pretty well follow what's existing. It's just going to be wider. But when you go from the trail to the corners of the soccer field, that's a lot of space in that area. So.
Cool.
Yeah. But,
Any more discussion on the playgrounds?
Maybe as it's warming up, maybe we can contact Kendra again and we can meet with her at the park and really kind of discuss, because I know when Ashley and her ran up there just briefly that evening to look at where this was going to go, she did say, ooh, this might be too big for this area, maybe we need to do this or that. So maybe us meeting with her again and actually physically being there, it'll allow us to talk more through things, so we can have a better idea.
But I think too, if you have a visual more, it's just, it helps.
Yeah.
are there any comments on colors? Would you like to see others?
I like the natural colors.
Yes, I did too. I wish there was more. I think in the one picture there was a lot of green, and I wish there would
More
have been
brown?
just just
Yeah.
a little more brown,
I
like the poles.
Brown
I wish
and
she would have
tan.
done like the tan or brown color.
Right.
And that's something we
Yeah.
can talk to her
But
about
it's-
too.
I mean, really, the only thing brown on it was
Like
the platforms. Right.
And so I was thinking the poles were going to be like a tan color to kind of
dark
break it up a
green.
little bit. But other
Well,
than
and
that,
that's what, we had all those choices after like, holy
Yeah.
cow. And this, for me, I'm like, okay, I want this, it would help to see this first, then,
yes, and then be
Color
able to,
in.
yeah.
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 I
So this
agree.
was, I think, a good starting point so we can,
Right.
we
And
know.
this is what age?
This was 5 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah. The little kids. Then my concern too is, I know we want to have a bigger playground for older kids, but having it for that younger age, what's going to keep older kids, because it's new and it's there, just to be on it and hanging out and,
Well, they're gonna-
I mean, they're going to do that on any playground. If
going-
it's a matter of loitering, they're going to do that no matter
Right.
where you're at. What you're looking at is providing enrichment for the community. It's what made people frustrated when the bathrooms got vandalized. One person ruins it for everybody, and so we don't want to plan with that in mind, that somebody's already going to ruin it.
I know.
You know,
I know.
All you can
It's
do-
Dream
so
big for your
frustrating.
community, and
Take it, put it
Hope
in,
that-
and
Big. I've been dreaming
because
big.
deal with it.
here's
15 years.
here's the other thing,
Done.
is when you have spaces that are actually usable for your community, that families want to go to, and they start using more of, that's going to deter a lot of people. So when we have a space up there that is being rented out every weekend because it's a great pavilion space with a great family area, so they're going to have the graduation parties there. Maybe there's small wedding receptions or something. When you start having that space utilized on the weekends, kids are going to be like, those 16-year-olds that are loitering around. They're going to say, well, let's not go there because it's probably occupied.
Right. Let's go to Valley
Or
Springs.
things.
It's dark and don't have cameras.
But yeah, when we start actually making these spaces usable, I think it's going to deter some of what we've seen in the past.
And maybe they'll all start to get jobs and start working.
Yeah, good luck with that.
So,
Yeah.
we are recorded. Which is fine, just a reminder.
Little plug.
Zeros is hiring.
What'd you say? I'm sorry. Did you say
Zeros is hiring.
Zeros is hiring? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, when can we meet with her again? I mean, because if we don't keep this going, it's not going to happen, just like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
We can
saying?
email her again and see when she can fit us in.
But with that price point that came back, I think that's a comfortable place to start with. I think that's doable, and I think especially if we size down, we can save a little bit of money, even if we do go with another swing bay. I think there might be some savings there, but I'm not scared by that price point for that area.
Well, especially with the flooring, I mean, that's got to be,
Yeah, it'll add to it, but it's not going to be the $60,000 like the pour in place.
right.
If I had to guess, probably 25.
I thought it was like a third of that
or
maybe.
so.
Okay.
All righty. Yay. Bathrooms?
I guess I can tell them about ARPA funds. Is that reserved, right?
Yeah, we did pass out a couple meetings ago.
Yep. So I can let you all know that the Board of Aldermen have decided to reserve, I believe it was $160,000. $160,000 of ARPA funding. ARPA funding was part of the Coronavirus Relief Acts packages that were passed and given to the communities.
ARPA.
Yeah, ARPA. American Rescue Plan Act. So we'll have that to start planning with. We do know that we want a,
Again, who is we?
Board of Aldermen.
yeah, Board of Aldermen largely. I've been, I guess, kind of working again to talk with Steve and Happy here and there about making sure what we don't want and what we do want to present to you guys and also the Board of Aldermen. We know it'll have to be either like a cinder block brick building, brick. So it's going to have some kind of solid wall. We don't want to do metal siding or things like that because it's going to get dented. Especially if somebody overthrows on disc golf, or kid takes or a kid takes their basketball, waiting for their buddy to get out of the restroom and just starts throwing against the walls. So we want it to withstand that and withstand storm damage as best as possible. So you're looking at a unit similar to what's at Main Street restrooms. We want to make sure that they're ADA accessible and compliant. A prefab unit is one single unit's probably going to cost you most all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So we probably have to look at seeing what our option is for in-house or local contractors. Then making sure the number of units within the restroom. If you're looking at 2 stalls, 3 stalls, I wouldn't say we would
And
need
that's
more than
just-
2.
That's just for one,
Yeah.
not,
It's-
Big pavilion bathroom.
Yeah, I would say you'd focus on the restrooms by the big pavilion again, so that you're working in that area and getting it completely usable. Especially since that's going to be the first section of the trail, be able to tie that in. So
and that money, when's that money available?
when
We
we,
budgeted probably it would be 23 to 24.
yeah, but it gives time to get the plans in order. Hopefully some material costs go down to some extent. So I guess it'd be deciding on an actual bathroom committee to work on that. So
At a bathroom committee.
I think it was just Gary.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he was the only one.
Can we run a lot to it?
yeah. But
We'll
yeah,
probably present we'll either look at the central core prefab unit and just present that to you and see what you think of that. That may be the easiest way to go, and the easiest way for us, because then we're not having to bid out a project.
Yeah.
We can do the plumbing and that, and set the building on top, we're ready to go. One thing we wanted to do also is get that trail in first, or if we get the financing, to get that trail in so that we have something to base the distance off of. Plus the existing water and sewer that we have to tie into.
Yeah.
But I think, if we decide to do it in-house, again, there's just some basics. You want to make sure that it is vandal resistant. So you're looking at stainless steel equipment, again, the block walls, or it's going to have to be plywood walls with FRP and brick on the outside or something to protect it, or you're going to see some damage.
Yeah.
So I think there's some limits as to really, putting a committee together. It's
Yeah.
just based on the amount of money that we have, how many stalls can we provide? If we can provide 3 stalls on each side, that's great.
I think that's
Well, and
sufficient.
and I think even too, according to what I've looked at, even having 2 stalls within both of them meets the capacity, or meets that pavilion up there can only hold maybe about 75 people-ish, if that. So I think the numbers on some of those prefab websites that I've looked at say that if you have a men's and women's that has 2 stalls each, then you can look to have about 150 people, based on the rate of how frequently it'd be used. It's not like everybody's going all at once, things like that.
Women and 2 for the men. Actually, 4 for the women and 2 for the men.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
But, so,
Okay, cool.
yeah, because also even doing it in-house and stuff, Alliance is going to have their limitations, especially on their time. And so, yeah. But,
And that's 23, 24, you said? Yeah. All right, anybody else have anything on any of that stuff that we just covered? Old business, move on to new business? And why is he still here? Can we get him in so he can go?
He's here for the new business.
All right, what is he?
he's not in a rush to get out.
He's what? He's not?
He can leave anytime he needs to.
Huh?
He can leave when he needs to.
I thought he was here for some new business stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a new business.
Discussion of lower field at Valley Springs.
Right, that's your new business.
Okay, I was just going to say whatever he's involved in.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of me, Lauren?
No, I just didn't know. I'm just trying to be nice.
Get out of here. If he was in a rush, he would just let us know.
Okay, Main Street Park,
That's fantastic.
movies in the park?
So we had to reschedule July's due to fireworks. Gary was unable to secure dates for something else, and so once again, the only date that was available was the night we already had scheduled and on the calendar. So we moved it because it's the only thing we can do. Otherwise, there's just,
Otherwise, it makes it look like,
we stood in the way.
yeah, and we didn't want to deprive the community of
What day is
that.
the fireworks?
It's Saturday, July 2nd.
And the July movie would be that Friday, July
Yeah,
1st.
so we're moving it to the 1st. With that, because this is the 2nd year in a row that this has occurred, the library has already informed us that they will not be participating next year. They are pulling out. They feel that, and I 100% agree, and I wasn't very happy when I got the call from Ashley, because last year we were told this will never happen again, and then it happened again. And I know that it sounds minor, it's just having to move a date, but in my eyes, I feel that if we're talking about growth and somebody books the soccer fields or they book the new event space that we put in, and somebody else comes along because they want to do this, do we just continue to kick people out of things?
Right.
And we're trying to build partnerships with people within our community, and we've just now burned a bridge. And it wasn't even the park board's doing. It was, it was out of our hand, like your hands. I'm not even a voting member. So it just, yeah, I'm just disappointed. So,
Yeah, it poses some challenges because, again, as Sam mentioned, it does seem like a small thing just to change the date. But I don't know that a lot of people realize how much the library has done for us on this program. Sean's been working with trying to gather sponsors and things like that, so I know he had already had some people on the line to talk to about it, and so he had to call them and let them know dates change. And when you have to say one thing and then say another, it just doesn't reflect the best. But at the same time, it might have been a bigger hit to the park board and park board's efforts if it seemed like we stood in the way of the larger event. So it's just something to consider moving forward and acknowledge. So
So if we're going to continue to do movies, we have to get our own licensing and
yes,
everything?
we have to get
Okay.
our own licensing.
Which isn't, I mean, that's not.
It's not- it's not- it's
anyway.
not,
It's something
but-
we probably needed to do.
and it'll also be board members stepping up to the plate. Sam and I put a lot of hours into the events. I mean, day of the events, we're up at the park for
2 hours before the event,
2 hours before at least,
and then an hour after.
and we're trying to make them as fun as possible within our own pocketbooks sometimes. Using what I have in the garage to make a little game, or Sam's whole family coming out to unload the candy and set up the tables and things like that. So
Well, we really appreciate all the time and effort you guys
And
put
we-
into it. We
and-
really do.
and
And I'd like to thank all these people too for their
and
participation.
thank you. We don't bring that up for those, but
I think more so just knowing that if we want to continue it next year,
We can't
because
do it
Sean
all.
brings the screen, all the equipment. He did say he's willing to let us use the equipment, but they will not be the ones to set it up, tear it down, transport, like, it falls on us. So it's a big thing to have to do all by ourselves. And that's where I'm bummed that this
Well, I
happened.
would hope too. I'm a little bummed at our community that doesn't jump in and volunteer for more events that happen. We scream out, we ask,
Well-
and some of this stuff could be community driven too.
Well,
They could be active.
But we also have to lead by example. too.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah,
And I
so-
also just think it's the whole group, if we want to just be a good community and provide something for them, yes. But I wish more people would get involved in
And
things.
Yeah.
they will if they see the board as a whole stepping up. And that's not to point fingers at anybody or things like that. Again, it's just, think about why you get involved on things, and what would drive you to get out there and do something that you're not a voting member on. And some of you do it but people really want to see the boards that, if people come to me about streets and sidewalks and parks and rental units, whatever, as a city board, they see me up at that, driving through the park every day. Jeff can attest to that. My neighbors see me looking at my street, my ward street. St. Jude will see me drive by. And so Valley Springs, they see me drive by because I want to be active in that. I can't ask them to show up for me and our initiatives if they don't see me showing up for them. So it comes down to a lead by example situation. And Sam and I have had people reach out to us wanting to get involved, but they hesitate because they see Sam and I. So, because they're not getting on YouTube and watching these meetings. So,
Well, there's a lot of people who just don't do that in general, too. I mean, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
defend anything, it's just,
yeah. But,
Too busy nowadays.
yeah.
I mean, kids don't even go out and play no more.
Yeah.
Once they get a cell phone, they lock themselves in their rooms.
Yeah.
Different generation, different times.
I think, too, it would help if we had more members on our board
Yep.
that could spare, I mean,
Yeah. You're,
I'm present because
What's
We need
sad is
more.
we've had several that have approached me, and I think Ashley too, but none of them can because they're county residents. So that's been
And-
such a bummer.
and-
Everybody that's contacted, I've had 3 people ask, how do I get on the board? And I'm like, well, I'm not on the board. I sit and take notes for the board,
And how
but
can you get
it's-
around that? Or
well,
how can they?
here's,
They have to move.
they can't vote.
Yeah.
They can participate in your activities as volunteers, things like, much like Sam does.
Right.
They can't vote, but a lot of that's going to come down to direction of what you want that membership to look like. So, we can widen our committees and things like that. We can host a special meeting for everybody in the community and see how they want to volunteer, maybe. That's an option. See how they want to get involved with
Well, 'cause
parks.
if we're not getting city members, and we have other
Well-
people that want to get involved,
Well, you're limited to a board, you have a board of 9, that's state statute, 9 voting members. They have to be city residents. That's all laid out in statute and ordinance. I don't know that we ever found bylaws.
You don't have to have bylaws.
Okay.
You're governed by state statute.
Yeah, so we'll, if there are memberships that need to be removed, so we can try to find city residents to fill those in attempts to being more active. If you feel there's inactive board members that need to be removed, we need to look at how to go about that so that you can replace them with city active members, but you want to know who to replace them with. But that's going to come from conversations, showing up, things like that. But we can also look at, what we want it to look like for city and county to work together to do this. But that's probably going to be extended discussions outside of a regular meeting.
well, if that's what has to happen. I mean, if we want people to get involved, what else are we going to do? What else can you do? I mean, we can't even get 9 here, city people. That's what I'm saying. And I asked John Connard if he would like to be removed. Okay, that doesn't mean we're going to get it filled either. So I think it's,
And I know Travis, he's, yep,
We have an opening as of now, anyway.
right.
and I didn't know, I don't know if people think it's that important that they have a vote if they just get involved, period.
So maybe something that we can do is maybe we have a special meeting for the community that allows them to ask questions to see if they and talk to us and see what our plans are and see if they want to see if anybody shows up in the city. Maybe we get a presentation together on our master plan and better, something that we can present to them, let them ask questions and see how they want to be a part of it and go from there.
I think that would be a start.
Yeah. So again, we can't make any super decisions necessarily tonight, but that's something we can work toward and figure out what that might look like.
Just to get people, and I think it's easier to maybe ask and get people involved in the summer than in the dead of winter, and I know people are busy too with fall and sports and all that stuff too, but the momentum's going, they're in the parks, they're seeing this, that might be a better time.
Because even at the movie in the park board, or movies at the park events, there was one of our first ones, I set up a table with it had the QR code so they can scan and donate to the park. I had binders out with our master plan so they can page through that, a couple maps printed out so they can, and people came over and looked. Unfortunately, we were a little tied up with getting concession stand and stuff like that together, but people were curious, and I think the more we can get out in front of the public with that kind of stuff, the more it's going to motivate them to want to get involved in some capacity. So,
Well, we just need to get more involved then, too.
yeah.
One short of it. Zomer's always one, we need a booth here, we need a booth there, we need a booth there, we need to sell water, do that, just to get exposure. So I just wish we had more people to do all this stuff. You know, that's where our hands are always tied. It's,
I think if we start with where we're at with what we have and are willing to put in the effort there, it'll grow quicker than we think if we're putting in the effort, those that are here now. So,
now.
well, on the board as a whole, not
Right. Okay, can we move on? Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Movies in the Park, Chamber of Commerce Leadership Program. See, that's going to happen September 21st?
Yep.
so? Okay.
We have time for that.
Good, time. And actually presented the master plan to the local Rotary Club.
Yeah. Yeah, that one can be removed. But on the agenda, I think the last
you're going
part
through the
is-
old minutes. I think you're going for the minutes that need to be approved, is what you're talking.
It's new business.
Yeah, go to the new business on the agenda.
It'd be your first
Okay.
page.
Oh, I am so sorry.
You're fine.
We have to talk about those things anyway, so you're good.
Okay. New business?
Yep.
Cloverfield, Valley Springs, fine.
Yep, Steve's got to fill us in.
Hey, you're up.
And Lauren was trying to get ready before you got to, geez.
I'm trying to figure out why I'm still here. All right, so the lower portion of Valley Spring Park, it's continuously wet, rough area to mow if we can mow it. The trails leading back down to it from the backside behind little spring-loaded figures in the bathrooms, that trail's pretty much being abandoned in place and not being serviceable anymore. The bridges are falling down there. They're going to come out. Trees are a hazard as well. But the lower area is at times is unmaintenanceable. So the thought is, basically I need a decision is, do you want us to continue to mow it and maintain it? Or the other option would be to let it grow up to a wooded area.
Since we can't vote on that,
You can't vote, but if you need a discussion, we can make sure the vote's on.
personally, I would just let it go back to
Let it go
nature.
back to
Let it
nature.
grow up.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Why do you want to
Yeah.
keep,
Give more places for wildlife to,
yeah, don't kill any more rabbits?
Is that what it was doing before you guys recently moved? I mean, that's what was going on anyway, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that was growing up. It's just with the bridges and stuff down there, people still want to go down there and try to use it, but the bridges ain't in very good condition anymore, unfortunately.
I would imagine like if you kept it just to be wildlife, we need signage just to let people know that this is a natural and habitat wildlife area or whatever, instead of just people, because they're still gonna mosey down that road, you know, the road that's down there. I would think, and just look at it as, and you can see it from the parking lot too. I don't want people just thinking, oh my gosh, look at that place. It's just, why aren't they taking care of that? We know what's going on, but people that aren't from our town and eat their lunch there or whatever.
I think that'd be a good idea, put some signage like
And also
natural
nature area.
wildlife.
Yeah, and actually maybe put some more native stuff in there to fit in.
Would bring more bees, butterflies, all that kind of stuff that we had.
Yeah. It's a
And, you know, maybe,
You know, John Carroll would be a really good person.
Yeah.
He knows that spring.
maybe even
from-
plant
would.
some specimens down there that, you know, promote pollination and stuff like that.
But yeah, I would,
And if, I mean,
Missouri native plants.
you know, maybe we could put some sycamore trees down there. They like the wet areas, you know, stuff like that, so.
That sounds
I
good.
don't have a problem with it, I mean,
You can put cypress down there too.
Yeah.
because I know it isn't bog.
Well, then the main road washes out every year too, going down there.
So what is he just use that information?
So, well, we can't make a decision.
Well, we can't make a decision, but we can bring it up the next meeting and talk to John
I
about
want to see
it.
if there's any feedback from this,
Oh,
Yeah.
from the group tonight. I mean, if you guys are totally against it, then we would figure the whole board would be against it. But we need to start at this point saying,
Well,
let's let it grow and see what we can get to develop down there.
Yeah, I think it'd be all right if we did put some more native stuff in there and signage, just to let people know
I
that.
think we can set up a barricade, we'll set up a barricade on the road that goes down there, the trail that goes down, and say natural habitat area, under development or whatever.
Yeah.
And that way, then we just let it go.
Enter at own risk.
Right now, do not enter.
Bears have been silent.
Maybe we won't go that far.
Well, maybe that'll prevent vandalism at the back.
Yeah, and a barricade's not very aesthetically pleasing. I mean, we could set 2 posts and put a chain across it or something and hang the sign on, it'd be a little better, so.
I'm not looking for pleasing, I'm looking for
split rail fence.
something that is
Effective.
That's Jeff's Park.
see.
That's Jeff's Park, he appreciates aesthetically
Why are you just
pleasing.
making natural colors? I don't know.
Just safety yellow like Jeff's shirt.
Split rail fence.
Go with tans and greens, okay?
What about a wild berry color? Just
So,
And I do have contact to somebody with the Missouri Conservation, and he's willing to come and meet up if we ever want to have designated places for bee pollination and butterflies,
There you go.
bring in native plants. I mean, it's still kind of maintenance because you got to kind of burn stuff off every couple of years, depending on what you plant.
And that's better than trying to mow it every couple of weeks.
Yeah, because we discussed that for years, the upper part of,
Not
big
over-
part.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's willing to come meet anytime and go over certain areas, so maybe we can figure something out.
I don't think so.
Leave it grow.
Valley Springs, okay.
But
All
the
right, so
elevators have.
I won't mow again until I hear an answer.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Are you guys, will you be removing the bridges?
Alligators.
Yes, that's what he said. He was, yeah.
So that's gonna happen?
Yeah, they're getting kind of dangerous now.
Yeah,
One of them already is.
yeah, the one that the tree fell on and all that stuff, yeah.
Handrails are about to just fall off.
Well, be careful.
Got an excavator for that.
Any other business? We don't have to say,
No, you don't have to say anything. Thank you for coming.
how should we get a hold of Kendra?